welcome everyone back to another episode of
Not Fighting.
And we are back with another episode, even though we didn't have an episode last week.
Yeah. Sorry, we was busy.
We were just busy. We could give you an excuse, but I don't want to lie to you like that. Not
busy
you.
works.
Not you, like you, the audience. Like
yeah,
I'm talking to you guys.
We were busy. That's not an excuse. That's a truth.
I feel like it's like it's like the worst thing you can do to an audience is to be like, yeah, sorry, the thing that you listened to us for wasn't here last week. We was busy with more important things. Like
I didn't. No, you're putting all that in my mouth. I'm just like
I didn't say it. I'm just saying like
no. Now you're just ruining it.
I feel like
we've gone about this too long. We needed a break,
and we appreciate all of our listeners and. Even those of you that maybe haven't seen Space Jam or feel like pretzels or bread, won't hold any of those things against you.
Yeah, let's not overplay these things, babe.
She hates overplaying stuff. But yeah, I think it's funny because a lot of these conversations we have on the podcast, whether it's about the pretzels or bread thing, which we've kind of done to death, but those conversations are like where we pull so many of the like topics and like things that we just are like, oh, we'll talk about this on the podcast or whatever. It's like the conversations you have with people like in the locker room at jiu-jitsu or whatever. And then, I just find that those conversations are the types of things that, I don't know, I feel like you have more real conversations you would like with coworkers at work or something like that at the water cooler, like in the locker room at jiu-jitsu.
Real conversations happen there? I mean, yeah.
Like, I mean, pretzels or bread is not like the best example, but I just mean like you'll have like a real conversation just about like life in general or something.
Yeah. While you're taking a shower with other men.
Yeah. Which jiu-jitsu is sort of like the locker room at like any gym where it's like the older you get, the just more comfortable you are with just like having your weighing out.
I think it's a culture.
Is that a thing for women as well?
Oh, I mean, there's always an old woman that's like completely naked walking around in the locker room at the gym.
Is she like trying to start conversations with you and putting her leg up on like the stool benches and stuff?
No. No. The one time that I was like the most awkward, just like sitting around with some like naked old ladies is like, it was at, when we were in San Francisco, it was, I was at the, YMCA, like gym, locker room, and I was like, oh, I want to go like hit the sauna for a few minutes after I worked out, just get a little bit more of a sweat. And there was like three older women just sitting in there like completely naked.
Approximate age.
I mean, over 60 for sure.
Okay.
Definitely over 60. That was the youngest one.
Maybe like a Darlene in the bunch.
No. They were Asian, so that's not going to be their name.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna.
We're not gonna go there.
But no, they were just like they kept coming in and out, so that was irritating to me. I'm like, either stay in or stay out. But they were like had towels laid on over the bench, and they're just like didn't put a towel around themselves, like laid the towel down to sit on, and then we're just sitting there like, having a conversation, and I'm just like, okay.
I can't leave immediately, but it's so funny that you mentioned
stay on your phone until it gets too hot.
It's funny that you mentioned that because the most egregious version of that experience that I can remember was in a sauna as well. It was cutting weight with our instructor. Actually at the time was getting ready for a strike force fight, and he was cutting weight, so he's got like all his layers on, and then a guy just got into the sauna just like naked and sat down right next to him. And I just remember being like, we're gonna have to be in here for a little bit longer because he's got a lot to sweat out. And I was like, this naked dude is just gonna, it's like another aspect of suck. It's like when you're cutting weight, it sucks. You've got all the hoodie on and everything else like that. And I just remember the guy was so chatty, so you couldn't just like box him out, so you don't have to talk to him. But the guy's like asking questions like, why do you have a sweater on in here? And it's like, well, I don't know, I
don't want to talk to you about it. I'm not in the mood to talk to anyone at this point.
No habla inglés.
Well, I feel like saunas are a great spot for some awkward like weird things to happen. There's always that guy at 24-hour fitness when we were going to the sauna, because like at that location the sauna was out in the pool area, so it's like co-ed. But every time I would go in there was this dude who was like, he probably was in like his 50s, maybe 60s. I don't know, because I couldn't really tell. He was in good shape, but he was really, really thin and way too bendy. And he was just in there like, he had like gallons of water, like multiple towels on the floor in the sauna, and he's like doing all these like crazy stretches, pulling his leg over his head and stuff, and he's just chatting you up with his like leg over his head, and like he would be in there for I don't know how long, like hours. I'm assuming.
I assume he was in there before we got there. He was there when we left. Like,
yeah, and he was chatting up everyone that walked in. And, like, you had headphones on, it didn't matter. He's gonna make you take them off, and he's gonna talk to you.
He has like a strategy for being in the sauna.
Real weird positions.
You've got to imagine that like he's like hour 4. That's whenever I like open up the door and then like take a towel and wave it outside like I'm blowing the steam out of the room or something weird. And then he's like, hour 5, that's when I get out those baby carrots, and I've got baby carrots as a snack, and I offer them to other people. These soggy, very like hot but still cold enough to where it's like colder than the sauna baby carrots.
Ew, gross. Anyway, I don't know how we got into this, but yeah, people are weird in locker rooms.
But I think it's funny because the conversations that you will have, like in jiu-jitsu locker room, I think sometimes like have like speak volumes about life. Like we were having a conversation recently with a friend of ours, like in combat sports and martial arts, and she said something I thought that was like just really.
So this was obviously not a locker room conversation.
Yeah, obviously not a locker room conversation.
I was just like, where's the correlation here? I was very confused.
No, it's just a conversation you have, like I guess like
after training,
yeah,
sitting around
hanging out, and she basically just said like, you know, most people that have to, when they start fighting, you have to fight for free before you can ever make money doing it. And in fact, like, you know,
but you're not fighting for free. You're paying money because you have to pay people to teach you how to fight, you know. And
which our friend who's a like a professional kickboxer, one of the best in the world at her weight, you know, what did she say last night? I thought what you brought up earlier was really interesting.
Yeah, like, well, I'd asked, she did one MMA fight, but I was like, well, what would you do MMA again? And she's like, if it pays me, but like for kickboxing, she's making more money. She's like, I lost money in the only MMA fight that I ever did. Cause like after you pay your coaches, you pay for like travel and everything else, you're definitely in the hole. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there right now.
That's something that I do think that people don't think about, like, because there's very few people that are making money as competitors in anything that's not MMA. And even MMA, I think one of the things you have to take into account is, like, let's say after you pay your coaches, after everything, let's say you make 10 grand, or let's say you make 20 grand. Mm-hmm. Now you have to go back and you have to go, when did I start training for this? Look
at the time that you put in.
8 weeks ago, you know, or whatever.
You're making less than minimum wage.
Yeah, it's like you realize whenever it's all said and done, it's like, oh, okay, I just made the equivalent of, you know, a $60K a year salary or whatever. So even whenever you're a fighter, you might have these windfalls where it's like, oh, I got paid $100 grand for this fight or something. When you pay everybody and take into account all the money that you get to keep and
also taxes,
you realize like, oh, well, I'm actually just, you know, like pretty regular job, you know, at best in some cases. And
I'm risking a lot of injury and like brain damage and all these other things to do this. But, you know, but there are like, it's not like we're saying, oh yeah, like don't fight because like, I mean, obviously I'm trying to do that. And I think it's just one of those things is like, you kind of have to pay your dues, like at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to make it. And I think that's where it's kind of sad to see people who are fighting and struggling and trying to get by. And then you're like, I don't know, friends, training partners where you're like, there's like not a real chance of you for real making it, like doing this. Like,
or that chance was like, long ago.
Or you've passed it or something like that. And so I think those are the things that are hard and the discouraging, because you don't want to like rain on someone's parade or like crush their dreams or whatever. But at the same time, I think you need people in your life that are going to be honest with you about like the reality of your situation, because we've seen so many people just ill prepared where it's like, this is all I'm doing is fighting, and like they have no other skills. They develop no other life skills other than fighting. And so it's like, when you're done fighting, or if you didn't make money fighting, you didn't make it, like, what's next?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we might have talked about it on the podcast. If not, you and I talk about it all the time. The worst thing that can happen to an athlete sometimes is that they almost make it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does create this situation where all of a sudden it's like you felt like you were right there. And then the thing was, you were right there, but you just were short for whatever reason, you know? And from there on down, it's just downhill.
Yeah.
But they don't
like,
see that.
at the peak of your like athletic career, your prime, you almost got there. And then you just like, you're on this like gradual decline, but like still trying to get to that spot where it's just like, yeah, that's like the time is come and gone.
But I think this is a trap for life. And this is where the profound thing that I think we were talking about earlier, where it's like, when you're in a sport or something like that, like, number one, if you're passionate about anything, whether it's, you know, your job, you know, an idea that you have, if you're entrepreneurial in any respect, like, there's a really, really good chance that like you're working for free, or like you're starting your own business. Is like, guess what? Like, the amount of money you make, your business, like, that's how much money you're paid. So if your business makes $0, that's how much money you make. And people will do that for years before they actually like make it. Now, we also know those, like, you could watch a Shark Tank or something like that, and you could find some dude that's like, he's poured millions of dollars into this like idea that he had,
his whole life savings, and it's just like, it's not a good idea, man.
And he's been trying to make it work for 10 years or something. He's like, it's peanut butter and jelly, but the sandwich is actually in the jar, and it's like, it sounds disturbingly terrible.
Like the bread would be soggy.
It would be awful. And like, he's the only one that doesn't get it. And I think that, you know, that's the same trap that exists in martial arts, but you know. But
I think it's in a lot of things in life. And like we were talking about, like, in martial arts, you have to pay your dues. You're gonna spend money before you start making money fighting, and you're gonna lose money before you start earning money fighting. But that's with anything, you know. You go to college, you're in the hole. Like, before you even get started in a career, like, to educate yourself, which would be the same thing as training and preparing and like developing skills. As a fighter, you have to pay coaches, you have to pay people to teach you those things. And the same thing in real world, like, you have to, you know, pay universities and people to get knowledge to be in a career, even though I would say it's probably in a lot of ways wasting a lot more money going to college than like paying somebody like that would teach you like an actual
teach
skill.
you how to do something. I mean, like, that's why internships are often unpaid and stuff like that. It's like literally the idea of like, let me just follow you around and see
gaining experience.
Like, let me work there so I can get an idea of how this stuff works, so that I can apply these skills and make money from them. And you know, martial arts is similar. Like, you know, I liken a lot of the advancement that I made early on in jiu-jitsu to, I was the uke for a bunch of private lessons. Like, any chance I got, because even if I didn't get to drill it, I was like learning stuff that I didn't know, you know, and I was more than happy to just like be there for free so that I could learn, you know?
Oh yeah. And I think that's huge. That's something I think it's one of the, actually a pet peeve I have, like, with the kids in my class, because we'll do this thing after when I'm teaching, and I'm like, okay, I want like the kids to like demonstrate the move to the class, and we kind of rate them, like we give them like, you know, praise for like how good they did on the move, and I'm always like, pay, basically, it's claps. But like, you know, I'm like, oh, they're excited to show the technique, and then they're showing it, and then the rest of the class is like looking off, like not paying attention, and I'm like, no, like the whole point of you like watching them is so that you can keep learning too. Yeah, it's not just because I want to like make somebody feel great or bad.
You don't care, realistically, kids.
So it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing, but I think it's really important to have those those experiences where I think it makes you more hungry. I think it makes you more humble. Like it fuels the drive to like have to kind of like, you know, pay your dues and go through these things. Cause it's like, ultimately it's like, my goal is to be like, I'll be able to make more money or like achieve certain things because I've put in the work early on when it didn't seem like it was paying off.
And I think that that's one of the things that, you know, I worry about to a certain extent with the rise of like the Jake Paul like stuff where it's you've got like these like celebrity kind of like social media generated like fights or whatever, because I think one of the things that's lost is like the fact that if you want something, if you want to achieve something, it's going to probably require you to put in a significant amount of time and energy of yourself.
You have to sacrifice. You have to like work really hard.
Even if it doesn't feel like sacrifice, there's a drive where it's like, you know, I used to always think like people would always like look at me like I was crazy when I would do like extreme things. But in my mind, I was always just thinking like, this is really easy. All I have to do is just put a needle in my knee and suck out all that fluid, and then my knee seems to work good again. Like, this is the best, because all I wanted to do was train or whatever. But there's a lot of examples of it. And I think that when you see someone that is able to basically be a Floyd Mayweather celebrity style boxer without ever really being in a boxing match against an actual boxer, it sort of like shows you that like, hey, maybe there's a shortcut. And I think that once you have people that are aspiring to the shortcut versus like the path itself, it concerns me.
Do you think that would ever happen in pretty much any other sport outside of boxing? Like,
yeah, I think it'd happen.
You think that MMA, like that's not happening in MMA?
Yeah, because in it depends on what you mean. Like, could the match happen? Yes, because I feel like it has.
But at that level where it's like,
let's Conor McGregor fight like Brad Pitt or something.
Yeah,
Brad Pitt's a terrible example. Makes you seem like 100 years old.
Super weird reference.
Does he fight David Dobrik or whatever?
Oh yeah, like some TikTok star.
No, probably not. Like,
even though it's like, oh, this guy's like a fan. Like, there's a lot of guys like, oh, Ashton Kutcher's gonna fight him. Like, I'm just throwing out somebody who I know trains jiu-jitsu or something. Huh?
Ngannou fight The Rock?
No, but that'd be fun. But The Rock is somebody who was like actually a professional athlete in something, you know?
Yeah,
and multiple things.
Yeah, he was a professional wrestler, so he's got like a background in wrestling.
And he played college football.
But I think, it's just interesting because it's this like attention. We were talking about this earlier. It's like, it's transient. And that, you know, there was a chart that I saw recently on Instagram. I showed it to you, but it was that like 10 years ago, the number one thing that somebody wanted to be was like an actor or actress. The number two was like an astronaut and like firefighter, whatever.
Doctor and police.
But now it's number one is influencer, number two is YouTuber.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that because like all the kids that I teach want to be like influencers or YouTubers.
But there's it's one thing to be famous and like have that be something that you want or desire as a kid. But then it's another thing to like be famous for something. Yes. You know?
Yes.
And it's like, even if you're an actor, it's like you're famous for like acting, being in movies, you know, like having actually done something. And that's where I'm worried that in many cases people will see things like the Jake Paul stuff or whatever and just be like, yeah, if you want to be a fighter, all you have to do is like be tough, like put it on your Instagram and get attention, and then people will like, you'll jump ahead, you'll get this like head start or
skip
whatever.
The line because you were and I think the thing that bothers me too, like just from, you know, coming from a place where it's like I've put so much time and energy in learning how to fight, and it's like I'm sure he's like a decent boxer. Like he looks like he knows how to box, but like everybody like giving him this like credibility and this like fake clout of like in boxing because he's like handpicked people that obviously he's going to beat that aren't boxers. It's like you're picking people who, like, first one's like an NBA player, like he's just an athlete that has nothing to do with fighting, and the second one is like you pick a guy who's retired and he is known to have like the worst boxing in all of MMA. It's like, come on, man, like put yourself up against a real boxer, or if you really want to, like, I think that's the thing, is like this, like this fake hype behind it, and I think that's like
but it comes back to like
fake credibility. I don't know.
Yeah, but it comes back to like, I think the fact that is he's probably a good boxer. Like, seems like he's a good boxer to me.
But like you could go into a whole bunch of gyms around the world and be like, there's guys with just equal or even better talent that nobody knows about and don't have.
Boxing gym and just be like, hey, do you have any young guys that got good power? And they'd be like, oh yeah, we got a couple guys. It's like some people just naturally have it, and then you can say like, well, which guys are just like hobbyists, but they're like really, really good, and they're like, oh yeah, we got a ton. That's every boxing gym. So the thing is like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
like what are we trying to prove here? Like that he can box? That he can box somebody that doesn't know how to box? Like, don't we know this? Like, yeah. But that's the thing, is like the accomplishment, the attention. It's gonna be it's fleeting, because you and I were talking about, like, it used to be that, like, if there was something that was like a cultural meme, like an SNL skit or something, it's like people would be doing like I used the was
which, like, that was a commercial from early 90s. Not early
90s, late 90s, early 2000s,
mid 90s. I don't know. I feel like it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was a Budweiser thing, and people did it way too long back then.
Yes.
And but now it's like you have something like that, and it's like cool for like a week, and then after that it starts downgrading to where it's like, you're late, brah. Like, if somebody starts doing it, and after a month it's like gone. There's a really good chance that people won't even like know what you're talking about.
Remember it. Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what this is too, from the standpoint of like, if you're Kamaru Usman, you will go down in history as a great welterweight champion, if not one of the greats, if not the greatest of all time. Yeah. Eventually. Because these are things that he's cemented in stone. These are things that are built and earned through accomplishments and that take a lot of time. And so I think it's one of those things where it's like, when you take the time to build something and develop it over time, like the richness of the accomplishment like lives with you. There's equity in it,
and it's lasting.
Yeah,
you have a legacy.
You don't have like this Dogecoin style of like accomplishment where it's like, it's spikes for a minute, but then the value completely decreases because the bubble pops.
Yeah, I think that's so many things that are happening right now, and I think that's where it gets dangerous. And you see, I think that's why you have so many people talking about it, especially professional fighters talking about this situation in particular, because it's like, it's maddening, because you see like people who have put in like real time effort in things where it's like they haven't never like made that money. You think about somebody who like what's his name, the old he was a heavyweight guy, Tim Sylvia, who is like broke now, and he was like one of the greatest heavyweights, for a long time, like put in all this work, did all the things, and it's like now he's broke.
He had a Joe Dirt mustache, and that really worked against him, because I feel like everybody that saw him was like, I bet if I was tall enough, I'd probably beat that guy.
Yeah, and it's guys who have like real talent and real skill, and then they are like struggling now, where it's like you have these just influencers who just say like, I'm gonna use that to like do something that I want to do, and like it's create this like fake like hype about their fighting skills.
I think the thing that I see, and it's more of like being able to zoom out and just kind of look at things from a historical perspective, it's more so that I'm not a hater. I don't look at this and go like, oh, I think that these people have worked harder and these people haven't, so these people should have accomplishment and these people shouldn't. It's that I look at it and that I go, this is a trap, because one of the things that you're going to realize about the nature of these things is that, number one, anybody that assumes like I just got to be big on TikTok or Instagram and I'm going to be good at boxing, will have to box at some point and realize it's very difficult. So like that's the thing that I think people probably don't see about the Jake Paul thing is that he probably is spending a significant amount of time boxing. Like he probably is training just like a fighter. I actually think that like he's probably doing all the things that like struggling boxers are doing. Like all
but
over the
he
world.
doesn't have to struggle.
Correct. And I think that that's the flaw in the thinking here is that you'll be able to get away with these things or like these things just happen. They don't, you know?
No. And I think a lot of the things that people don't understand is like to build like your like social your brand on social media to become like famous or to become an influencer and those things is like it's not just like I get to just like hang out and do cool things all the time. Some of these people, like, yes, by happenstance, they become popular and they become like TikTok famous or like, you know, it's like this fake fame.
Tick snap famous.
But it's just like, but like when you get to that level, like creating content and doing those things, like actually is a lot of work. And so I think that's where I think I see like the kids that I'm teaching, like they don't understand the difference there where it's like, oh no, I just get to be on Instagram and like on all these like social media platforms and I'll just be famous and have a lot of money because blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, you still have to work. You still have to, number one, creating content, especially because your stuff is like only, you know, good for like so long. Like you constantly have to be putting out new stuff and that takes so much time and energy. And I think there's still a lot of hard work that goes into creating that where people don't understand like that aspect of it, I guess. And
the thing is too that I think that there's like inflation via volume, meaning like if you're somebody that creates like the SNL skit that everybody talks about or whatever, it's like that might go on for years, but you created that skit or whatever. Maybe it took a lot of time and energy, but it lasted.
Yeah, the Chappelle Show.
Yeah, Chappelle Show. I mean, like crazy because like I'm Rick James. Like that's here for forever now.
Yeah.
And but now if you create something like that that has that kind of like viral
well, think
popularity.
about like all the memes and stuff that go around that are like super super popular. It's like I don't know who created that, I don't know who started that. Like you don't have fame, and even if you did gain like some kind of like money or power through that one thing, there's a lot of people that become a meme and then they like there's no profit in that. Like
well, like think about this, a year from now, like somebody drops a Tiger King meme. How relevant is it? Yeah. You know what I mean? But
it's not relevant now.
I know, but that's the thing. Is like a year ago, it was the most relevant thing. Mm-hmm. Like in terms of like cultural memes. Yeah. Because everybody's watching Tiger King.
We were stuck at home, so.
But now we not. We out. But no, we at home right now though. Yep. You can tell. This is I waved my hand. For all our audio listeners, almost all of our listeners are on audio.
He waved his hand like he was a magician.
Yeah, which you all know that I am.
He's not.
The only magic is that I make you slightly less attracted to me every time I do magic.
That's not good. Like, why do you want to do that?
I'm just saying it's a magic trick.
That's not a magic trick.
I tricked you early on.
You tricked you into being attracted to you?
Surprised, I'm a magician. Tricked.
No.
It's magic.
Although I do feel tricked sometimes. I got tricked into this relationship.
As I pull out a wand.
I would be so disappointed. I might divorce you on spot.
Wait.
I'm taking the dogs and I'm going to my mom's.
I'm going to my sister's. Does it make it better if I have a wand and I tell you that I'm a magician or that I'm a wizard?
Oh my god!
See, I don't think I could pick. I don't think I could pick. Are you like a racist wizard? You know, or like the KKK? Like,
I was like, why is it a racist thing? Yes, the leader at the top is called a wizard.
Or from like I'm a wizard, like my D&D character is like a wizard or something.
Oh god. Both of them just like make like my lady parts just dry.
No nerds. But yeah, I think it's yeah, I think we're gonna have more nerds. I guess like wrapping that conversation up. I think we're gonna have more nerds. I think this thing leads itself to not nerds in a good way either, like nerds in a bad way.
What do you mean? Explain.
I think that there's an inherent value.
I feel like you're not talking about nerds, you're talking about dorks.
Oh yeah, dorks.
Just
sorry.
saying. Just saying.
My apologies, everyone. I wonder if there's like a Webster's definition of them both. Like,
I mean,
what's
I
the
can
difference?
look it up right now. It's
No.
going to be on Urban Dictionary.
No, I don't want that. Urban Dictionary, I feel like he's going to have very different descriptions.
Yeah, but accurate to the culture.
You can look them up at home on your spare time.
Yes.
But yeah, just that was a really fun conversation that we had that I think pivoted into just like I don't know, we in the last week have got to see both the Jake Paul thing, and then last night we watched the
just greatness.
Yeah, 3 championship fights in the UFC where we had Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade.
Nope.
Oh no. Yeah, sorry. Rose versus Wiley.
Yeah.
And then Shevchenko versus Andrade.
Yeah.
And then Masvidal versus Usman. And in all 3 instances, it was a spectacular performance and finish. And you see that. And that, like, the Rose interview after the fight was so emotionally intense.
I was watching, so last night watching it, I was tearing up, just so happy for her. It's you can see, I don't know, it was super emotional, and I think for everyone watching. And then today because we were watching it at a place where it's I couldn't really hear the post-fight interview, and you kind of heard a little bit, but I was rewatching the interviews today because I wanted to hear the whole thing, and I was tearing up again, and I'm I'd already seen this, I already know what was said, but I really wanted it's just because you see somebody that's gone through so much to get to that point, getting a belt, losing it, falling off in a way where she was in a really bad mental state, all these kinds of things, and then being able to pick yourself back up and get out there knowing she was saying, I'm the best, going out there and just and doing it, proving it to yourself. I think that's the thing is for her, it's more about proving it to yourself than it is about who cares what anyone else thinks. It's I need to do this for me. And I think that's a big difference in real fighters and real athletes versus fake people. It's I'm not out there and I tell this to my students all the time, if you're doing this oh, I don't want to let the team down, I don't want that. It's no, in a combat sports where it's it's you versus the person. If you're doing it for anything other than yourself, wanting to prove something to yourself or just challenge yourself or whatever, it's you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Because nobody else cares. We all your friends, your teammates, your family, it's we're going to support you no matter what. So it's if this is something that you want to do and this makes you happy, then I'm happy for you regardless of the outcome. But real competitors, especially in combat sports or individualized sports, it's you're doing that for yourself. It's a very selfish endeavor, and so it's you're having something that's to prove, but you don't care about anybody else.
Yeah.
And then these other
you
stars,
see the authenticity of the appreciation and the emotion that she had winning that, because you said, she's proven it to herself. She was Chancey, I'm the best. And to see that where it's she's having this moment where she's realizing she's accomplished the thing that she wanted to, and that she's proven that she is who she thought she was.
Yeah.
And then you see, rewind a week, and you have Jake Paul crying in the ring that he knocked out Ben Askren in this circus sideshow or whatever. It's
with this lame belt that was so ugly.
It's so just fake. It's a long time ago we did an episode on Nutella. This is it's the most Nutella.
Yes, it is the most Nutella.
But
person.
It's it's just fascinating because it's you have those two things where it's the substitute even though like it might look the same, like it just doesn't have the same like nutritional value behind it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, I think you show those 2 videos to anybody. It's like, in life, do you want to be Jake Paul or do you want to be Rose? And I think as you get older, especially, it's impossible to say you wouldn't want to be that person that can just lay your head down on the pillow at night and just be like, yeah.
But I think there's a lot of people out there that don't really care about that. Like, I think that's the thing that irritates me or bothers me the most about it all is like, there's so many people out there that are like, yeah, I'll take the fake accomplishment, like, over like real valued and I
think it's the same people that are happy to like tie a black belt around their waist, even though they know all they've been doing is like hiding and then just paying some guy to show up once a year and belt them the next one for a little while.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
That's not targeted at any one person, by the way. It's just
there's a lot of people that do that, and I think it's the same type of person. Where just like, I don't know, you have the means to buy your way into a like something, and you're cool doing that.
Yeah. And we've talked about that previously too, I think, because I think that there's a lot of that in combat sports too, where you have people that like buy their way in as influence because they want to be like adjacent to like, famous people or tough people. Mm-hmm. So it's like they want to be tough by association. Mm-hmm. We're heavyweight champions of the world, Francis. It's like, I don't think so.
I did this.
But yeah, I think, it's a lot of common themes on the podcast. So if you listen to us before and you're like, oh no, I'm like a TikToker and like, do they tell you no, like,
good for you. Like, I want to do more.
I'm like trying to get on TikTok now. I'm trying to break out in TikTok.
Yeah. What should I do?
You can find me at ticktothetalk.com.
Oh, no, honey.
No?
No.
Because I give a web address for like how to find me on TikTok. It's clearly not going to be accurate at all.
And this is kind of the world that you live in, so
It is.
Worried about the company you work for.
Well, then you're worried about our income. Everything's fine, everybody.
Dang it. Oh no, somebody help me.
Don't help her.
Why?
Well, I mean, like if you want to send her money or something, like I'm not going to turn it away. But we do want to thank everybody for listening to the show, and it's actually grown quite a bit. We were just looking at some of the numbers here recently, and thankful for all the people that keep tuning in. And if you have a chance to review, share it with your friends, please do it. If you want to tell us something about the show, you can comment on YouTube's the only one that I know you can comment on. If you comment on other stuff, like I'm not seeing it. So
I think you can comment on all of it, but
I don't think you can't comment on Spotify.
You can leave reviews.
I don't think you can leave reviews on Spotify, can you?
You can
look into it, everybody.
I know you can leave reviews on Apple.
Yeah, on Apple, but not Spotify.
I don't know. I don't listen to podcasts on Spotify.
Well,
sorry, Spotify.
Way to alienate. You definitely heard a chance of signing a deal with Spotify now. Anyways, we love Spotify here at Not Fighting, and we want to thank everyone for watching another episode of
Not Fighting.